So usually when you look at a map, right, the more detail it has, the more confident you feel.
Oh, for sure. You see the landmarks, the street names.
Exactly. You see the topography and it's comforting. But then you step into the modern digital age and suddenly that map has every single road, every traffic jam, every weather pattern happening simultaneously in real time.
Right, which just completely overloads you.
It really does. Instead of feeling confident, you just feel like completely paralyzed. We're looking at this landscape where having infinite information has somehow created massive, widespread disorientation.
Yeah, you're trapped in what psychologists actually call the information action paradox.
The information action paradox. I love that term.
It's basically a state where having so much data literally causes your brain's decision-making centers to shut down, just to protect you from the overload.
It's wild. We have never known so much, and yet, honestly, we have never felt so universally lost. So, welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Our mission today is to decode exactly why this is happening to you, to me, to everyone. We are unpacking a massive, really wide-ranging conversation between author Mark Manson and podcaster Chris Williamson about the harsh truths of modern life.
And we're going to pull out some actionable and, frankly, highly counterintuitive insights from their discussion. We're talking relationships, anxiety, and finding meaning.
Yeah, because we are dissecting a world that has optimized almost everything to be utterly frictionless. And we're exploring why that lack of friction is actually tearing us apart.
Which sounds completely backward, I know.
Right. And trust me, you are going to want to stick around for this one because we're going to tease apart some truly surprising ideas like why having a burrito taxi deliver food to your door is quietly destroying your happiness.
Oh, the burrito taxi, yeah.
And why, when it comes to dating, you should probably abandon the search for Prince Charming and start looking for an air fryer partner instead.
It's a metaphor that completely shatters how we usually view romantic compatibility. It really does.
Yeah.
So let's start with the root cause of why we feel so incredibly lost right now. Manson and Williamson make this really compelling case that our central crisis is basically an obsession with avoiding uncertainty.
Yeah. They identify cognitive flexibility, which is the ability to live happily with ambiguity as the single most critical skill for the 21st century.
But I want to understand the mechanics here. Like, why is ambiguity so physically painful for us?
Well, it comes down to how our brains process fear. We tend to think of anxiety as a fear of bad things happening, right?
Right. Like, I'm anxious, I'll lose my job.
Exactly. But anxiety is actually just the brain's frantic attempt to compress uncertainty into something recognizable.
Compress it. What do you mean?
So there's this concept from quantum mechanics called superposition. It's where a particle exists in all possible states until it's actually measured.
Okay, getting a little sci-fi here, but I'm with you.
Right, but in psychology, living in ambiguity is living in superposition. It's the maybe. And the human brain absolutely despises the maybe. Oh, man. Manson actually brings up this bizarre quirk of human psychology to illustrate that. He points out that we would literally rather imagine a highly specific catastrophe than deal with the superposition of just not knowing.
Yes. We'd rather invent a disaster.
Like, our brains would rather collapse the unknown into a scenario where, I don't know, our dead relatives come back from the grave just to scream at us, rather than sit comfortably with the thought, I really don't know what tomorrow looks like.
Because a specific catastrophe, I mean, even a supernatural one, it gives you the illusion of control.
Right. You can wargame a zombie relative.
Exactly. You can formulate a plan. But the danger of constantly trying to predict the future to gain that certainty is that you build an enormous surface area for things to go wrong.
Every rigid prediction is just another opportunity to be completely incorrect.
Spot on.
There's an interesting dynamic here, too, between zooming out and zooming in, because if you zoom out, you get macro certainty.
Right. Look at the rise of AI, for example.
Exactly. Zoom out. And history tells us humanity has survived every single technological revolution. We adapt. But you zoom in, and you get massive micro-anxiety.
Like, will AI take my specific accounting job next Tuesday?
Yes. So I get that we crave certainty to soothe that micro-anxiety, but how did we end up optimizing ourselves into a corner?
So consider this brilliant historical example they discuss. Decades ago, the U.S. military tried to design the perfect fighter jet seat by averaging the physical dimensions of over 4,000 pilots.
4,000? That's a lot of data.
Right, and the logic was sound. They figured if we build for the mathematical average, we create a baseline certainty that it will fit everyone.
Makes sense on paper.
It does.
Yeah.
But the average person literally does not exist. So by optimizing for everyone, they built a feed that fit exactly 0 people.
Oh, wow. So they just created a perfectly useless seat.
Yep, zero fit.
It's like our brain is running a primitive weather app, right?
Yeah,
One that was beautifully designed to predict simple, localized rainstorms for our hunter-gatherer
I
ancestors.
like that analogy.
But now it's trying to forecast complex, multivariable, global climate change, and the algorithm is just completely freezing up. It's like playing multi-dimensional chess where the board just keeps changing shape.
That's exactly what it feels like.
So if our brains are fundamentally wired to seek certainty and patterns, I mean, are we just biologically mismatched for the sheer chaos of the information age?
Well, it is a mismatch, but, and this is key, it's one we're capable of adapting to. The intense craving for certainty stems from a lack of what psychologists call trait confidence.
Trait confidence, as opposed to,
State confidence.
yeah.
State confidence is highly specific. It's,
Yeah.
knowing you can confidently fly a plane because you've logged 1,000 hours in that specific simulator.
Okay, so state confidence is skill-based. What's trait confidence?
Trait confidence is a deeper, broader baseline trust in yourself. It's the core belief that you're going to be okay no matter what happens, even when you have zero control or specific skills for a situation.
So how do we actually build that if we don't have the skills yet?
Through difficulty exposure therapy.
That sounds unpleasant.
It can be. You can't plan or read your way into trait confidence. You have to physically live through situations where your plans completely fall apart, the uncertainty hits you square in the jaw, and you survive anyway.
So you have to build the neurological proof that failure isn't fatal.
Exactly. You have to bleed for it a little bit to become truly anti-fragile.
Man. Okay, but if trait confidence requires bleeding a little bit and actually facing the unknown, why is our instinct to use modern technology to sprint in the exact opposite direction?
Because bleeding hurts.
Right. We use our phones to systematically eliminate every single ounce of friction from our lives. We want total convenience. But the conversation drops a really heavy truth here. That exact convenience is quietly hollowing out our sense of meaning.
There is a direct inverse relationship between convenience and significance. Our dopamine systems, our reward pathways, they're evolutionarily wired to only truly appreciate things that require some degree of friction, effort, or sacrifice.
It's like playing a video game with cheat codes.
Oh, perfect example.
You turn on God mode, and for about 5 minutes, it's hilarious. It's incredibly fun. You're just crushing every enemy. But very quickly, winning without the threat of losing feels entirely hollow.
It gets boring.
Yeah. And AI is currently handing us cheat codes for our professional output. It massively speeds up the deliverable, but it completely robs us of the deep, enduring emotional satisfaction of actually doing the work.
And this extends way beyond the workplace, too. It infects the hyper-convenience of our daily routines.
Like the burrito taxis we mentioned earlier.
Yes, using an app to have any food or item arrive at your door the exact moment you want it, without ever having to speak to a human or even put on shoes.
It's magic, but it's isolating.
Or consider the modern etiquette of texting a friend, ask for permission to call them.
Oh, I am totally guilty of that.
We all are. We do it to avoid the social friction of an unexpected interruption.
But that unexpected interruption, that unscripted vulnerability, that is exactly what builds the connective tissue of intimacy. By optimizing for comfort, we're basically optimizing the humanity right out of our relationships. They use this phrase being airdropped to the peak instead of climbing the mountain.
Like overnight crypto millionaires.
Exactly. The financial outcome sounds fantastic, but they often lose their tether to reality. Biologically, psychologically, they didn't do the climb, they didn't build the internal resilience required to handle the altitude.
It's a really dangerous spot to be in.
I do want to push back on this a little bit, though, because I'm genuinely confused as to why removing drudgery is inherently bad.
Sure, lay it on me.
If an AI prompt can spit out a passable quarterly report, or an app can bring me dinner so I can spend an extra hour reading to my kids, isn't that a net positive for humanity? Are we supposed to just romanticize suffering for the sake of suffering?
No, it's a completely fair question.
But
The nuance here is about what happens to the baseline of our capabilities over time. AI essentially acts as a gravitational pull toward the mean.
a pull toward the mean. Okay, explain that.
Well, if you're in the bottom 50% of a skill, AI acts as a floor, and it makes you passively good.
Right, it lifts you up.
But if you're in the top 50%, relying entirely on AI will actually drag your unique, exceptional work down to the mathematical average. It raises the floor, sure, but it dramatically lowers the ceiling.
Wow. Okay, so When technology successfully automates away the baseline struggles of survival in these daily chores, what are we supposed to do with that saved energy?
That is where individual responsibility kicks in. When the world stops imposing natural difficulty on you, it becomes your job to actively go out and hunt for new, chosen difficulty.
Chosen difficulties like what?
You have to intentionally introduce friction back into your life, whether that's through intense physical training, learning a complex instrument, or tackling a massive, agonizing creative project.
Because easy automated wins just evaporate from our memory.
Exactly. Hard wins permanently restructure who we are.
Okay, so if hyperconvenience is short-circuiting our professional growth and personal meaning, what on earth is it doing to our romantic lives?
Oh, it's brutal.
The discussion pivots here, and they argue that removing friction has completely detonated modern dating.
Modern dating apps are brilliantly optimized for the convenience of introductions.
Yeah.
But by making those introductions frictionless, they bypass the crucial, real-world friction that historically served as a biological filtration system.
A filtration system for long-term compatibility.
Right.
I want to break down why that friction is biologically necessary, because in the real world, human beings use shared microstresses like, I don't know, missing a train together.
Or arguing over where to eat.
Yes, or navigating a really crowded, loud room. We use those moments to unconsciously test a potential partner's cortisol regulation and their conflict resolution style.
We need to see how they handle being annoyed.
Exactly. When dating apps strip away the environment, they strip away our evolutionary filtration system. We end up swiping purely based on peak romantic chemistry.
Which is actually the wrong metric entirely.
The completely wrong metric. The real question you need to ask is, can I live with this person's version of an average Tuesday for the next 10 years?
I love that framing. Because when you commit to a partner, you aren't just selecting a curated profile picture, you're inheriting a complex, functioning ecosystem.
You are adopting their sleep schedule, their family drama, their baseline stress levels, and their impulse spending habits.
Love does not magically cancel out a person's flaws. It simply increases the duration you're willing to tolerate them.
Which brings us to the air fryer partner concept. This was originally coined by Rory Sutherland, right?
Yeah, it's brilliant. So think about an actual air fryer. To an outside observer, it might seem loud, it takes up far too much counter space, and it kind of stinks up the kitchen.
Most people would find those flaws totally intolerable.
Right. But you happen to be someone who profoundly values perfectly crispy fries without the heavy oil.
So to you, the specific value vastly outweighs the specific annoyance.
Exactly. Finding a life partner is about finding someone who has disadvantages that only you are uniquely equipped to handle.
Manson and Williamson share this great story about a couple living next to a roaring train track. I mean, most people would literally lose their minds dealing with that noise every day.
That would be a deal breaker.
But if you happen to be a massive train enthusiast, that massive disadvantage transforms into a daily benefit. It's all about complementary incompatibilities.
They bring up a rule from Warren Buffett to really crystallize this. He says, write down the top 20 things you want in a partner, and then violently cross out 17 of them.
Just cross them out.
Yep. You have to find your 3 absolute non-negotiables.
Wait, I'm stuck on this 3-item rule. Isn't crossing out 17 things on your wish list just a really polite way of telling people to settle?
It feels like that, doesn't it?
It does. It feels like walking into this incredible, endless buffet and being told, sorry, you are only allowed to eat the dinner rolls and a single slice of cake. Why can't we hold out for the whole package?
Because modern dating isn't a buffet. It is a fixed-price menu.
Ah.
You don't get to pick and choose discrete traits in isolation. You are served the entire person. The illusion of infinite options provided by the apps tricks people into dropping a partner the absolute second they fail. One minor qualification on that 20-item list.
So we're just throwing people away over nothing.
Exactly. The paradigm shift is this. You shouldn't be trying to find a partner who meets an impossible, soaring ceiling of perfection. You just need to find someone whose inherent flaws never drop below your absolute non-negotiable floor.
If the fixed price menu of life guarantees that we're going to encounter flaws, friction, and inevitable speed bumps, how do we handle them when they actually hit?
That's the big question.
Manson and Williamson observed that people frequently fall into 2 really destructive traps when faced with adversity: seeking external validation and competing in the victimhood Olympics.
Let's examine external validation first, which they frame under the umbrella of neediness. And neediness is widely misunderstood.
How so?
It isn't defined by what you do, but by the underlying why behind your actions.
Like if you alter your vocabulary, your hobbies, your career goals, or your core values purely to gain someone else's approval or to fit their expectations, you are acting out of neediness.
Precisely. And the conversation highlights the online manosphere as a prime symptom of this.
Yeah, they point out that the manosphere is essentially the incorrect solution to a very correct problem.
The underlying problem is completely real. There's a large demographic of young men who are genuinely struggling, they're lonely, and they're feeling devoid of purpose.
But adopting this rigid, hyper-toxic, cartoonish persona just to gain status and approval from internet strangers, I mean, that is the ultimate manifestation of neediness.
Exactly. The second trap is more systemic, the victimhood Olympics. The harsh truths discussed here is that nobody owes you patience or special treatment simply because you've had a rough upbringing or faced profound difficulties.
And we should note, Manson and Williamson take a very firm, impartial stance on this. They discuss how treating someone differently because you assume they're too emotionally fragile to handle reality is actually a deeply patronizing form of bigotry.
It's infantilizing. They reference this fascinating moment at a comedy show in Australia.
Oh, the sign language interpreter, yes.
Right. The interpreter was required to translate a wildly inappropriate, highly offensive joke about Freud. And the comedian did not censor the joke for the deaf audience members.
Because true equality in this framework means subjecting everyone to the exact same level of unfiltered reality and occasional discomfort without treating them with kid gloves.
Exactly.
But I have to ask the really difficult question here on behalf of the listener. How do we reconcile genuine, measurable, systemic disadvantage with this kind of harsh, no excuses rhetoric?
It's tough.
Isn't it incredibly unfair and perhaps even cruel to tell someone who has survived real, debilitating trauma to just get over it?
It's a vital question.
Yeah.
And they break this down neutrally, using a framework from entrepreneur Alex Hormozy. The framework does not deny reality.
Right.
It acknowledges that if you suffered an unfair disadvantage due to poverty, illness, or trauma, it genuinely is awful. It's deeply unfair, and it is absolutely not your fault.
Okay.
However, the framework dictates that moving forward, your brain only has two choices for how to process that reality.
Choice one is to complain. And let's be honest about the mechanics of why we do this. Complaining feels incredibly good in the short term.
Oh, it really does.
It releases a quick hit of dopamine, it protects our ego, and it validates our pain. But by leaning into the unfairness, you essentially hand all of your remaining agency over to the very thing that hurt you in the first place.
You give it all your power. Choice two is to take action anyway.
Just do it anyway.
Yes. By choosing to take action, you physically rewire your brain's sense of agency. You become living proof to yourself and to others who share your struggle that the trauma can be overcome.
They aren't saying the pain isn't real. They're saying that focusing entirely on the unfairness is just a losing long-term strategy for your own psychological survival.
Exactly.
But if the logic for taking action is that crystal clear, and the alternative is losing our agency, why is it still so incredibly hard for us to just do the work? Why do we stay stuck?
Because smart, highly analytical people have a favorite secret form of procrastination.
Oh, I know this one. Procrastination by insight.
Procrastination by insight.
We convince ourselves that we aren't actually avoiding the hard, terrifying work of taking action. We're just preparing.
I'm doing research.
Right, I'm researching. We tell ourselves we just need to read one more book, attend one more seminar, or honestly, listen to one more deep dive before we're ready.
We insulate ourselves from the very real pain of potentially failing on the stadium floor by staying safely locked inside the dressing room, just memorizing the playbook over and over again.
It's like a person who keeps buying expensive running shoes but never actually leaves the house.
That is the perfect analogy. And we're living in a completely saturated information era. The age of uncovering dense, novel, life-hacking secrets is totally dead.
We are drowning in optimization tricks.
What we actually require now is not new information, but the spaced repetition of ancient fundamental wisdom.
They compare good life advice to a fire extinguisher. You walk past it every single day in your hallway, and you completely ignore it because its presence is obvious.
You know exactly where it is.
But the absolute second your kitchen catches on fire, you desperately need someone to grab you by the shoulders and remind you exactly how to pull the pin and aim the nozzle.
Manson and Williamson summarize a decade of intensive therapy into a few blunt truths that basically act as our fire extinguishers.
Truths like, no one is coming to save you. Your own mind lies to you constantly to protect your ego. Stop trying to convince people to like you.
And sometimes you simply have to let a dead dream die.
It's like studying a wilderness survival manual for 10 years, memorizing every knot in foraging technique, but refusing to ever step foot outside your front door to actually go camping.
Right.
So, if there are genuinely no new psychological secrets left to uncover, what is the actual value of all these books, YouTube essays, and podcasts? I mean, why are we even having this conversation right now?
Well, it comes down to human cognitive architecture.
Hmm.
Specifically, a concept known as the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve.
A forgetting curve.
Yeah. Late in the 19th century, Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered that human memory decays exponentially. Within 24 hours of learning something new, you will lose up to 70% of that information unless you intentionally interrupt the decay process with spaced repetition.
70% in a day. That's terrifying.
It is. Human nature constantly craves the dopamine hit of novelty, but our memory absolutely requires repetition.
So we don't need a map with new undiscovered continents. We just need a compass that chimes every once in a while to alert us that we've drifted off our chosen path.
The value isn't a magical secret. It's finding a trusted voice to repeatedly interrupt your forgetting curve.
A voice that reminds you of the basic, fundamental truths you just keep misplacing in the daily chaos of your life.
Precisely.
Wow. Let's trace the massive journey we've taken today. We started by looking at how our desperate need to collapse the superposition of uncertainty drives our anxiety, and how we must bleed a little to build trait confidence.
We explored how rejecting the dopamine hits of hyperconvenience from those burrito taxis to AI shortcuts is really the only biological way to retain meaning.
We learned to stop looking for a flawless buffet in dating and instead embrace the fixed-price menu of an air fryer partner. You know, choosing whose average Tuesday we can happily endure.
And we faced the harsh mechanics of Hormozy's framework, owning our struggles instead of sacrificing our agency to the victimhood Olympics.
And finally, we realized we have to step out of the endless, comfortable loop of procrastination by insight and actually execute.
It is a profound, necessary shift from endlessly consuming to actively doing.
As we wrap up, I want to address you, the listener, directly. Manson brings up the powerful Stoic concept of memento mori. Remember that you must die. Every single person you love is going to die one day.
Your time on this earth is violently limited.
So maybe, just maybe, it's time to put the phone away and do something that actually matters. Imagine yourself as an 85-year-old sitting on a porch, looking back at the last 12 months of your life. What would you deeply regret doing too much of? What would you regret doing too little of?
And to build on that, I want to leave you with a lingering thought. We spend almost our entire lives desperately chasing highlight reels.
Oh, constantly.
We optimize our finances and our stress levels for the perfect wedding day, the massive corporate promotion, the peak exotic vacation. But if your life, the actual mathematical bulk of your time on Earth, is fundamentally built out of perfectly average Tuesdays, what if the true measure of your success isn't how high you manage to climb on your absolute best days? What if true success is measured by how much grace, presence, and joy you can manage to find in your most profoundly boring, deeply unglamorous average days?
Man, because if you can figure out how to find meaning right there on a random Tuesday, you don't need the map anymore. You are exactly where you need to be. Thanks for taking the plunge with us today.